Moscow has fallen to Napoleon, who now resides within the Kremlin, and now Russia looks to retake its old capital and beat back the French here at Tarutino. The counter-offensive has begun in the 1812 campaign, and Russia is on the march. Marshals Poniatowski and Murat, with their battered corps exposed to extreme elements, looking to hold back the offensive led by Marshal Kutuzov in this glorious NTW3 historical battle for you here today. But yes, we are back with another glorious Napoleonic clash here today, as we have already a little bit of engagement going on, some Ulans here. Battling with some Russians, and both sides trading there before the Russians routed the Ulans. But we have a glorious 4v4 historical battle here with a heck of a lot of cavalry. We've got Murat here with his entire cavalry corps, which at this point in history was pretty bad. A lot of horses were starved and or dead, or just, you know, not battle worthy. But still, they went into battle, and still they put up a resounding resistance here against the Russians. Poniatowski leading his Poles, which also at this point battered from battles like Borodino and the Long March eastwards, are looking to hold on to the town of Tarutino, which lies not far south of Moscow, which is a position that they were asked to hold, while the rest of the Grand Army garrisoned itself within Moscow itself. But yeah, the Russians have around about 90,000 Russian troops in total. About 36,000 of those were engaged, and the French had between 20 and 26,000 troops. It's technically a Russian victory, but you could argue at the same time that they actually had a golden opportunity to destroy two entire corps, did the Russians, but they failed to be aggressive enough and to sort of just overwhelm Murat and Poniatowski, allowed them to slip away and deny them from being destroyed. I mean, Murat's corps was pretty much at this point all but destroyed. It was pretty much a shell of itself by the point that it got to the Battle of Tarutino. And Tarutino, not a lot of you know, plains that you could feed his horses, and also we're in the middle of October at this point, so yeah, the weather is starting to turn. But yeah, by after Tarutino, Murat's corps was pretty much redundant. The cavalry was all but gone at that point. But yeah, it was technically a Russian victory with, but they potentially could have gone on and made this a more resounding defeat, because yeah, the French lose between about 2,000 and 4,500 troops, whether that's killed, captured, or wounded. The Russians lose about 500 to 1,500 troops. So we'll see whether history recreates itself. Will Russia, you know, conquer here and reclaim Tarutino and start marching on towards Moscow, or will the Poles and the heavy cav of Murat manage to make a difference? But yeah, I think that both sides are pretty evenly pointed, around about 37 points. We have 3 Poniatowski corps, and then a Murat as well, which is a 10. And I think we have Bagration, we have Sarkin. I'm trying to remember the other ones, maybe a Tomasov. And I'm trying to remember what the other one was, maybe a Tuchkov. I can't remember off the top of my head. We've got a few other Russian corps knocking about as well. I do love the Poles. They do look glorious. It's great to have them in such great numbers here today. Glorious battle. They actually can melee pretty decently. They'll make a decent stand against the Russians here, who will be wanting to get into melee themselves. Obviously, they're going to take a bit of a risk there because they're going against Murat. So any large melees can easily be countered by all of the heavies. We've got Saxon cuirassiers here. We've got Carabineers, which are by far away one of my favorite units here, with the gold armor, looking beautiful with that armor. Oh, they really are. And obviously, plenty of cuirassiers as well, like a big unit as well. But yeah, the objective of today's game is to not to hold this 2 point over here. I mean, it's to hold this town, but sort of like the rear of the town, which is supposed to be the area of Tarutino, and this sort of position here. None of these LOCs are actually what needs to be taken. I mean, they are strong points. Yeah, it's just sort of like holding the rear of this town. If you can get to here, the Russians, it is technically a victory. The Poles would have to counterattack down the hill and try and retake this sort of area over here. So everything basically south of the church is what was needed to be held to actually sort of win this one. So not really a defined area, but yeah, an area nonetheless. And there we go, a cav charge going in over here, charging into guns which are hiding right in the middle of an infantry unit, which also failed to square. And there you go, that's a howitzer that is routed there. It's a big howitzer gun battery as well. Quite a few other gun batteries here destroyed. And that is a bit of revenge there for the Poles who lost some lands. And they got a nice tidy little kill there. And that is one less howitzer that otherwise was going to probably shell Tarutino and inflict a lot of losses on Polish troops. There is actually a matching Polish light cav over on the other side over here. At this point, if I was the Russians, I would be keeping an eye on cav in my back lines. But there's another one over here on this side here, ready to do exactly the same thing. The Russians have plenty of cav of their own, both like medium cav, like the C3s in front of you here, these Russian dragoons, but also they got plenty of heavy cav in sort of like C1 cuirassiers. These I believe they're C1s, maybe C2s. But yeah. Yes, the Poles are pretty much in position. They are now awaiting. The Russians have to be obviously the aggressors in this one. They might take a little bit of time. Russian artillery, arguably one of the strongest in Europe at this time period. And yeah, I mean, you can already see on top of the hill there. I don't know if you were able to make that out. But yeah, over here on this hilltop, there is a huge Russian gun battery. You can sort of see the smoke that is coming off of that. But yeah, that is pounding away onto the Poles down below, trying to just hit anything they can see. I think most of these troops actually, well, some of them are hidden, some of them are not hidden, and some of them are under missile fire. Yeah, 106 out of 111, so these guys are getting pounded by some Russian guns. But yeah, if you're enjoying the NTW3 battles and want to see more Napoleonic action, then you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're around here, and a comment to show your support. It really does help out the channel. And every like is one more Russian killed off. Unless you're rooting for the Russians, then it's one more Pole killed off in today's game. That is for sure. But yes, I hope you do enjoy. It is definitely worth sticking around to the end. Need some snacks and some drinks. It's a pretty glorious battle. And I really did enjoy doing this one. But yeah, if you want to get involved in any of these NTW3 scenarios as well, best thing to do is to join my Discord. The link is down below in the description. As always, it's the description of the video, if you haven't worked that out. And also, it's the best place to send in your own replays. I'm always looking for more NTW3 replays, customs, or any maybe like a scenario you've made. But yeah, I'm always looking for more content to cover. And without you guys, sending in your replays, well, we dry up with content to cover. So yeah, thank you very much as always for you guys sending stuff in. And yeah, do keep it up. And the Russians still taking their time to come forward here. I might start a fast forward. I'm not sure. The Russians are quite happily sat back here, as you can see. You can see all the artillery, like the divots in the ground here, and the frozen ground, or not quite frozen yet. October wasn't still too bad. It's November when the cold really started to set in and getting down to minus 23 degrees and at some points of the Russian retreat. This is just before the retreat as well. It's about a week or so before Napoleon decides to up sticks and realizes his position is untenable. Kutuzov is on the way with a much fresher much fresher Russian army from Borodino. He's managed to get a lot of recruits. That is kind of the problem as well with this battle, is that the troops being sent into battle for the Russians, a lot of them are made up of new recruits or militia that are being sent in to basically fill in the gaps from the losses taken at Borodino. So hence why only about a third of the army is sent in, because actually there's a lot of it is still green and not actually seen action. So they're kind of there just to witness the battle and just kind of get the idea of what a battle's actually like before they go in themselves, which is kind of a weird concept, but I guess it's one way to sort of, toughen your troops up if you get the opportunity. Even with only a third of his troops being committed, he did outnumber the French and Poles by about 10,000 troops, did Kutuzov. But yes, don't know whether we're going to have that today. I don't think anyone's going to be standing back and watching and going, you know what, my men are the recruits, pretending to be the recruits. You can all go in the battle. We'll just watch from the side. But a bit of back and forth going on here, looks like, from the Poles. The Cossacks over here just testing capabilities of the Poles. I mean, Poles have a lot of cav, a lot of Uhlans. They're going to actually push forward. They've got 5 units here of their own. Obviously, this is kind of the risk, is the Cossacks withdrawing onto much scarier cavalry like the Russian Dragoons, which are pretty solid for a decent price as well. But they are withdrawing. And there could be a Russian infantry or more cavalry back there as well, which could be what they're being baited into. Russia is... I think he's going into the building. Yeah, he sent some infantry in here. He's going to try and take that building. Poland has got... some line infantry in there, and we've got a grenadier waiting behind as well. I think this is getting ready to also storm into the building if needed. This isn't an LOC that the Russians have to take, so they could actually just level it if they wanted to. They haven't actually started to do that yet. They might change their mind and start doing that. There's a gun right over here, a horse gun, that is busy, I think, shooting at my infantry line at the moment. I think that actually is the one doing all the damage to my men. But it could easily quite just turn and start blasting that town hall if it wanted to. And lay it and level it. And actually the Grenadiers have attacked the Russians outside of the building. A pretty small unit, a 74-man unit of Grenadiers. This is kind of the problem. I was like, oh, they're pretty cool, but I don't know if I want to bring them. We've got Lithuanians in the building here. You can kind of tell that they're Lithuanians because of the yellow markings on them. We've got a cuirassier going in here, a Polish cuirassier. 60-man unit. Love that they brought the Polish cuirassiers.
This building has fallen to the enemy.
Just to, you know, back up the strong Polish ties that we have going on here. Building's got taken, but I don't think it was, in fact, the one that's over here. Yeah, the Poles still hold that. And we are seeing, looks like, some Uhlans go in here. I think, I don't know what they're charging, just charging some Polish infantry or trying to charge the cuirassiers, I think. And actually, they have managed to rout those. And there you go. The building still in the hands of the Russians. Oh, sorry, of the Poles, but the Russians are, you know, probably going to make another attempt at that, and maybe even start to try and level it, or at least weaken it to half strength. We will see. Over here, it seems, yeah, it's still Russian infantry really, really far back, as you can see here. My Polish cavalry kind of keeping an eye on that. They got a unit in this building over here, so this is what was notifying that the Russians had captured that. So some of the Grenadiers returning. There's at least, you know, just A positives, 43 of them left. Might be of some use. You never know. Yeah, the building is now starting to get hit. 4% is that right now. If it gets to 50%, then it will start to collapse and losses will be taken for the Poles. And obviously, if it gets to 100% and the Poles are still in there, it will collapse entirely and kill the entire unit. So that's the risk. And, oh yeah, here we go. Lots of these guys kind of dress like Poles with the same shako. Lots of militia though here being sent in. Evidently this player's going for mass. It's definitely a viable tactic, sending these guys out in the front, let them absorb the cannon hits. As you can see, just perfectly happening there. Poland firing relentlessly into these militia. Let them take the hits and, you know, take the musket volleys as well, and then send in the more elite infantry to, you know, try and, you know, go under the shelter of the militia, and they can get into melee if they need to. Yes, this battle was fought. The Russians could have ended up winning it, like I said, but the reason that they kind of didn't is kind of to do with their high command. So you got the people like Bennigsen, Kutuzov, all in sort of like in charge of this this battle, and both of them arguing over what was best to do. Even Barclay de Tolly, I think, is in some capacity is actually at this battle as well, though he is very much removed from command at this point. Bagavoo is at this battle, and he actually dies in this battle. So he's, I think, is one of the cores that we have here actually today is Bagavoo's core. So that'll be one of the other ones, and we then have Milo Radovich is another famous Russian general. He's under Sarkin's corps. He's part of Sarkin's corps. He is available actually as a general. I don't think they brought him, but I'm not entirely sure. It just depends obviously on the role you get. But yeah, this is kind of what I was thinking that might happen here. What the Cossacks were trying to do. They're trying to bait Poles, you know, onto the squares, sort of the Jaegers, those Jaegers there. They're going to keep pushing against the cavalry. They're in no real danger from the cav, because the cav can't shoot back. Just going to just be able to charge them, but if they keep forming square, they're invulnerable to the lances of the Poles there. I feel like today at some point I'm definitely going to be saying we'll match them with our lancers. I mean, I said it there technically already, but that Waterloo reference. Poland famous for providing a lot of the lancers for the French army. Certainly more of their elite units, like the Visual Legion. Good to see that Murat didn't just bring all heavies, he also brought some dragoons as well, which I feel like is always a good idea when you're playing this Murat cause. You know, bring a few mediums as well, something that can do off someone else. Cav charge going in here, Ulan's charging in. I think this was actually a misclick the player said. Find out where a square is though, right in the middle of the line. It has broken that Ulan as it charged in crazily. Just keep the Russians on their toes though, and the Russians and the Poles are now in line fighting range. They are blasting away. And here we go. Arguably one of my favorite factions. I'll say it. I do love the Poles. I think their uniforms look great, especially the officer. Officer looks awesome. What a beautiful man. Oh! What a beautiful man. And I mean, his drummer boy looks great as well, to be fair. They're dueling there. I don't know if the Poles are going to win this one. It seems like it's a bit of a mixed bag here. Winning slightly. There's only like one losing slightly actually here. I see more Poles get shifted forward here, I think, to try and help fight this, because they are actually being outgunned at the moment by the Russians. But yeah, apparently they're still winning slightly, losing slightly. Like I said, a bit of a mixed bag. The Russians probably have slightly larger units, so if they did come to a gunfight, I'd expect them to just win on that sort of a basis that they have just a few more men to expend. Poland would rather melee if it, would rather shoot if it had to. I'd imagine. Out of the two, it doesn't really want to be initiating any sort of melee charges against the Russians. They want to be sort of playing defensive. I mean, the scenario is designed to play defensive, but they don't want to be certainly charging head-on like that against Russians while getting shot at. The Russians put a lot of Jaegers, so maybe they feel like they could just go for a shooting match, which they might be able to. But guns being moved up here as well. Russian artillery obviously going to assist in any sort of line fights at close range. So they might be, again, like I said, the Russians might choose a shooting match just because if they stand with their guns and shoot, they've got a good chance of winning, even if they're not doing the damage with their muskets, they're doing the damage with the overwhelming Russian artillery that's being brought. Because, yeah, we have a huge Polish battery back here. We've got 12-pounders back here, and we've got another 12-pounder setting up back here on this hill, and they are just battering the left flank, well, the right flank of the Russians on the Polish left flank. Doing whatever they can there. Poland's still in the back over here as well. This cab's actually not hidden, but this one is hidden. But as you can see, it looks like France and Poland are on the right flank, at least shifting, ready to go in for an engagement. I have my cav hidden, ready to go in as well, so if they do engage here, which they probably should have done by about now, I'd say. So they are sending more cav. We're going to see a lot of cav come this way, including a cuirassier. We're going to see the Gros Hussars, which is a very scary dragoon unit, 96-man unit. And then we have another 90-man unit here. Oh, this one's a combat gen. Was the other one the Gros Hussars? That's also a combat gen. Yeah, looks like we're going to see a big push here from the Imperial Cavalry. Going to go in and try and just contest the Russians here to see what cavalry they've got. There is more now appearing. We've got a big gun battery as well back here, actually, that's just now appearing. That looks like that's howitzers, yep. But it doesn't look like there's masses of Russian cav back here. There's 2 dragoon units, a light cav as well. Yeah, it's a substantial force of cav, but it's not good enough to stop all of this French and French and Polish cavalry at the moment.
Peril, sir.
No, this might help. A cuirassier, I presume just a normal cuirassier. I don't know if there's a lifeguard. They're quite hard to tell apart, if impossible to tell apart. But yeah, cuirassier coming forward here. That might be scary. That might do enough to hold some of these units back. There's a lot of light cav going in here, a lot of Ulans. But they are also pretty solid. And they have got the infantry to support them here, so if they wanted to, they can try and turn some of this infantry and start shooting the Imperial Cavalry as they come in. Yep, Poniatowski's still wrapping around. As you can see here, I have my cavalry. I'm just kind of trying to get in behind the Russians. The Russian army is in a lot of trouble. You can see Poland's pushing forward here. They're sensing blood. And like, if we get into rifle or into musket range, start blasting these guys, and the Cav here can win this Cav fight, it could be over quite quickly. Dragoons there getting the jump on the cuirassiers. That's huge, actually, for this fight as well. And that's a pretty decent jump there as well from the light Cav jumping onto, I think this is just Russian light Cav, no, Russian Dragoons and also Cossacks. Looks like they were out of the Cossacks pretty easily. Dragoons might just about get out of here. The cuirassiers have gone, being routed by Dragoons. Massive win there. Polish Cav has been routed by Russian Dragoons. And they actually might get this one as well. I mean, he's being swamped. Technically, I'd say it's a bit of blobbing. 3 units there engaging 1. That's probably a bit of a blob. Light Cav here still engaging with the Dragoon. I might actually still win that fight. You never know. We've got more Dragoons arriving here for the Russians. They're going to charge in. They're going to rout the light Cav of the Poles. And actually, I think by charging also their own allies, they've routed those. Looks like Russian Dragoons over there that are fighting Polish light Cav have also been broken. And the cuirassier never saw any action, and the Gros Hussars saw some. But the other unit over there did not see any either. So, I mean, I'd say that's generally a victory to the French. Hopefully the first of many, if you're rooting for them. If you're not, then you're hoping that that's the only one they're going to get. Show that the Imperial Cavalry still has a bit of bite to it, even in this rough stage here. Whether the Poles want to charge straight down the middle here and try and contest the skirmisher, and there's a general right behind. Well, actually, no, he's dismounted. And he's just over there. But whether they want to charge that skirmisher is what I was going to say, and then just try and break through there, I don't know. Is a weak line, and that Russia's putting his skirmishers right in the middle, actually in the battle line. That maybe says a little bit about how much infantry reserves he's got going here. Yeah, Russians still waiting patiently. What is going on that far flank over there? Oh, and again, still hounding those Jaegers. Now I've actually got Polish infantry which can't square, so that's going to be vulnerable to the Russian cav there. That's obviously trying to push back the Jaegers. Like, that shows just, you know, 2 little units causing a lot, well, not a lot of problems, but some problems for the Allies. Not the Allies, the Imperials. Here goes Russia. Russia's actually going into that straight down the middle, hitting the Poles right where it hurts, in and around Tarutino. And go the boys. Win this first sort of proper melee going on over here. The Grenadiers didn't really have much chance, but it looks like they are winning slightly there, taking a lot of losses, 6 out of 111. Don't know if these guys are going to survive a second wave. Here comes the cuirass as well. I think that came up the road. There's a big gap in the side charge. That's also helping to rout all these Russians here. The Russians having it really easy counters. They've got a unit here, yeah, I was going to say set up, and then you get side shots. That's what they need to do. Poland, as you can see, is also trying to charge his own infantry to try and contest the Russians here, just to try, you know, stop the Russians from setting up as many like units to just side shot like Piasters. They're going to get out of here. 82 of 125 left. Still a pretty scary force. Yeah, back to a bit of a line fight there, though. The fighting in and around the town still going on, actually. Still a melee fight here. There you go. Poland retreats. Russia moves on. I mean, Russia could go up the road if it wanted to here. There is there is an infantry off to the left of them from their perspective. The building did fall as well. They just kind of battered it down, took it to 100%. Just killed the unit inside. Very sad to see. I was expecting them to not be cowards and charge in and try and take it in the Russian style of bayonet first. But no, it wasn't to be. Not to be. And we're now looking like we're setting up for a nice big line fight on this side here, which the Poles look like they have the numbers for. Whether they, well, actually maybe they don't, because those Russian Jaegers arriving there might outflank the Poles, so Cav might be able to keep those guys at bay. But yeah, Poland might not have the quality. There's a lot of Jaegers in here which shoot pretty damn well. We've got stakes here as well, which generals need to be careful of. They're so hard to see in some of these maps as well. Like, look at that. You can barely see them. Actually, from the angle you can. If it's like over here, you cannot see them, really. Looks like we're going to see another push here from Kirasia. This time a Saxon 102-man unit. Saxons coming forward. So they're going to go through the same route, just straight through these trees, up the main road, and then try and slam into one of these Russians. You can get backed by Polish infantry. They can give that a really good go and, you know, maybe push back the Russians here who don't seem like they've got masses. There are some reserves now shifting over here. Nope. Is he falling back? Yeah, he's falling back. I think he was thinking about it, and then he's since changed his mind. The push on the right for the Poles and for the French has not come to anything either. It seems like that died a death. They're just back to old standing and looking at each other, which is kind of what a lot of this battle is going to be, and it's obviously what a lot of the Napoleonic Wars is, just standing and looking at each other, and hoping and praying you don't get shot by your opponent's musket fire. But yeah, quite hard to see what was going on. When we did this one in stream, I was like, I cannot see anything under these trees. I was like trying to micro. I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I can hear melee fight sounds going on, but I think there's a single bit of melee going on. But, I mean, this artillery here is in a really nice position. It can just blast any of these units. You can go for musketeers, or you can go for militia. Yeah, some basic line infantry, some musketeers. Routed here. Line infantry. Ooh, not good, not good. Especially with this line looking a little bit thin. I mean, actually, the Russians are already pushing forward, looking to take advantage of that. They're just down the line here. There's definitely options to, you know, fill that with something. Poland is sending across more infantry. I think this horse artillery here is really causing issues there for the Poles, because they can wheel it up pretty close, but just out of sort of maybe effective bayonet charging range. Get canister or round shot going, and then just start plugging away, chipping away at those poor Poles. We're going to see a cav charge over here. In goes another Kirasia, actually. It hits inside his Jaegers, which look like they can square, so they're actually going to be able to deal with that. But yeah, Kirasia's here. I think they're going to go in. Going in over here. Yeah, again, might have found another squareable. Yeah, again, Kirasia's moving forward. These guys are already tired. They've taken only like 20 losses. But yeah, here comes the Pole. They're going to move forward. Yeah, that's kind of a bit of a failed charge. I think we kind of lost impetus after the first square hit. Yeah, they're getting it very much out of there, on the Poles. Oh, not the Poles, the Grenadier. The Kirasias! I'll get it right eventually, what unit that is. Here come the Poles once again. This time seems like they have the length to deal with the Russians. These two units might want to think about rejoining the main battle line. And into melee go the Russians once again. And immediately the Poles lose that one. This could be problematic. The Russians are, yeah, pushing on in. Another melee charge here. They're battling on over there. Over here, there needs to be a bit of urgency, I feel like, from the Poles. They need to get a move on. The centre's certainly getting pushed pretty hard here. There you go, multiple Polish units breaking. Russia, though, is also on near breaking point. They're getting side shot at those, so that helps. In goes the Cuirassiers running through, routing Poles, which is absolutely fine. In go the Gros Charou, which are active, being on the front line for a little while. They're now getting charging into the Horskins there, dismantling their carriages. And they have routed them. They are now fighting Lancers, so the Russian Lancers. They don't look too far away from being Polish Lancers. Looks like they're going to win that one as well, potentially. More cap being shifted in this direction. Just to get ready to deal with that Gros Charou. Yeah, as they kind of push up, I mean, they're going in still further and further at those Cuirassiers. Whether they're doing a bit of scouting of their own, there's not a lot of reserves here for the Russians. Like I said, all committed. They've got Cav reserves. Great. Which is, yeah, I mean, having Cav reserves are well and good. But, I mean, you're fighting a city assault. It's not easy to use Cav, that's for sure, going in. And, yeah, the Gros Charou has routed at 47 troops. It's not bad at all. Be interesting to see how many kills they get. Cavalry over here has won. We've got Ulans over there. They've just won that fight. They've just defeated a Dragoon and also a light cav. That is incredible from that combat gen Ulan. Poland managed to hold on to this front just about. Yeah, Jenny can also see what's going on in here. It looks like we're going to see the Gros Pools coming forward here. Yeah, there's a lot of orange lining units both on France and also on the Russian side. We've got the NTW coming forward. It's another Cuirassier unit. Grenadiers in here. And in go the Cuirassiers again, battling with the Russian Dragoon. A very scary sight. Both sides, that is for sure. And I'd imagine a prolonged melee that the... Oh, actually, I was about to say the Cuirassiers should win, but no. Apparently the Dragoons won. Whether they just got extra supporting fire, potentially. Still nothing really going on this side. Militia is being pulled back, though, because it's orange lining. Yeah, still very much a standstill over on this side. We're seeing a little bit more like tension building on this flank here. More Russian infantry, by the way, being shifted to this flank here, and it's more Jaegers. So they are going to outnumber the amount of Polish infantry. There's even some infantry being kept in reserve there. Get that forward. They're going to need every man on this left flank soon. Going to need every man in the centre. Still struggling on in there. In comes a Cuirassier here for the Russians. They're sitting in one. What is it even going after? Oh, it's going after the routing Gros Cools. They're not routing, but returning Gros Cools is probably the better term to put it. The heavies are in there. Side by side, these units fight. Well, not by side, they're not fighting side by side, but they are fighting next to each other. Shooting going on there. I don't think these are technically in melee though. I mean, he sort of is, sort of isn't. I think he's engaged in the cuirassiers next to him, but I'm really not sure. But yeah, the Poles got some infantry that are routing here. Looks like they made a big push. Russia still kind of looks like he's winning on this flank here. Going to see another Cavalry going in. We've got the Guard du Corps going in now. Saxon unit here. That's going to go charging and go for guns. Looks like he's going to get guns. 105 of this, an elite cav unit here. So the Russians are going to reward the Saxons by getting blasted in the face by Jaegers, or he's going to charge into infantry. I don't know, but he's going to cause more chaos in the back line. So we've got infantry coming forward. Nope, he's getting out there. Guard du Corps went in and he got out. On a bad little maneuver there. Looks like again also the Gross Cools, they're being withdrawn. Poland hanging on by a thread in this forest line. And I mean a thread. I've lost a lot of infantry trying to hold them. I'm also now trying to help push with my ally in this area here. There is guns waiting, and this is asking for a Gross Cool or something. Go in and charge that. Most of my cabs in the back lines, actually. Again, one of my cavalry helping to win a fight here against Cossacks. Pretty much taking no losses. Very, very nice. And now I'm in the back of this Russian army with lancers, and I'm looking for generals. That's what I'm really wanting to try and capitulate this Russian army nice and quick. We can get a general or two. We are in the business. One over here, actually. He's the one I've been trying to go for. We'll see what happens. Again, the Poles kind of enduring this here. Is there another melee taking place? Not quite yet. We've got gunfights taking place over here. I don't know if the Poles are winning. It's losing slightly. Yeah, they're starting to lose these gunfights, actually. But they're winning them over on that far side there. That's redlining. And the Jaegers being beaten back. I think the Jaegers, because they have less troops in them, eventually they kind of just get beaten back. They're winning slightly here, the Poles. I don't know why that is. I couldn't explain it. Could not explain it. Maybe it's because they're getting less artillery support. Who knows? But something's going to have to give here. Poland's center is starting to crumble here into Russia as well. Losing slightly. A lot of orange and red lining going on there. This cav force is going to have to act somehow. Getting in behind, doing something would be the main play. We've still got a big Dragoon unit here waiting. Russians also orange and red lining here. Yeah, someone's going to give. And it looks like we're going to see a cav charge here. We've got Dragoons coming forward. They are the Gross Hussars coming forward once again. We've got Grenadiers as well coming up. So we might see a bit of a push here from the Poles and the French as they try to counterattack here. We've got Murat going in. He's be careful not to charge. Yeah, I was going to say he might activate the square, but does not matter because that's not what they want. It's the guns they want. That's the guns they're going to get by the looks of it here. Pretty healthy Dragoon unit getting in amongst the guns there. Cavalry is acting. I actually managed to get my my Lancer in here. Managed to get the general rout him. The cavalry actually came after all of my Lancers, and as you can see here, the Dragoon has managed to get the gun and is now getting into the infantry. And the Poles start their offensive, and they collide with the general routing. The Poles see the opportunity to go in, and they've routed those units there. They can go down the line now. We're seeing gaps start to open in the Russian line here as the general routing and just prolonged gunfights have worn them down. And the Poles strike, bayonets twirling, men flying. I don't know if you saw him fly. My gosh. They're going to carry on and they can just keep going down the line. Now there's like, you know, when one unit breaks, you can just keep engaging in line fights like this and then just go into the side here and then just keep going down the line, just keep rinsing and repeating. We've got cavalry in the back line here, Lancers here. They're trying to just rout isolated Russian infantry units, and then they can soon slam into any non-squareable units here, which most of these Jaegers might be able to square, so that might be a drawback there. A second Dragoon unit coming out here to help try and look like it's going to run down this Russian Dragoon, make sure that's gone. There's also another general here as well for the Russians. So there must be two Russian armies out here supporting each other. That's going to get caught. That's going to die, I think, here. There you go, the Dragoons are going to catch that one. I'm not quite sure whose men those are. But Russia, at the same time that's going on, has actually charged through here, has broken into the center of Tarutino. They're now battling Grenadiers, and it's the Polish Grenadiers that are going to try and push back the Jaegers here. We've got more Russian infantry going in. The Poles are sending in the Grenadiers. Bayonets twirling, doing what they can. got the Saxon Guard du Corps. They've gone back in as well. Trying to pathfind through this town must have been a nightmare for this player. There you go, Russian infantry there getting thrown back, but it was a decent throw of the dice. We're going to see a heavy cav come forward here. Kirasia going in. He's charging in, literally sandwiching his own Jaegers as they try and run away. Fighting the Saxon Guard Corps. I mean, really all they need to do now, the Poles, is just set up to the side, shoot that unit. Got another Kirasia coming forward here. It's the Saxon Kirasias. They're getting shifted forward. They can just go down the road if they wanted to. Or, I don't know if they can cross this river. This looks like a crossing. It's slamming to the side of the Russians there with the heavies. Give that a go. As you can see here, this is collapsed. Yeah, the Jaegers here finally being annihilated, either by being shot or being charged by Polish cavalry. And all of a sudden, the Russian right, the Polish left, has absolutely collapsed. And that is not looking so great. Over on this side here, still up in the air, but as you can see, with the arrival now of the Saxon Cuirassiers, this unit couldn't form square, it seems, so it's actually getting countercharged by more Russians. They're sending in some of their peasants, their peasant militia. This might start to change the outcome. We've got shells of like howitzers going in there, trying to hit stuff. We've got a carabinier about to be committed. The boys in gold being sent in. Don't know if they're going to try and sneak by. I don't know what the plan is here. Yeah, I think he's trying to pathfind around those Saxons. If the Saxons carry on, go for the general in the back lines who's dismounted, that's potentially an option here. And the Carabiniers can continue the offensive here. Russia looks like he's going to go into melee. He's like, well, if the Poles are going to advance, we're going to countercharge. And I think the player might also feel like the game is up a little bit with his other flank being absolutely destroyed. And Murat coming in for the kill here, as you can see there. Yep, getting some very, very nice kills on those boys. Well, not killing them necessarily, but routing them. There you go, the Carabiniers doing what they do best. They are entrenching themselves over here still. The Russians still holding on over here on this far side of the river. Still got the Unicorns still in play as well. But yeah, that's another section of the Russian line gone. Allied General was actually killed. How did he get... Oh, he got arty sniped. Yeah, I do actually remember this happening. No reason that he otherwise should have been killed. But yeah, that Unicorn back there, I think he's just arty sniping him. Or like General sniping. It's a shameful display. But it shouldn't make too much of a difference. So this player now would be in a bit of a risky position if it wasn't for the heavy cav arriving. In a one-on-one, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. Though the Russian player here has also lost his general. So who knows? But yeah, Russia on the Poland on this side here. Now able to just swing around and just start to descend onto the Russians. I don't even know if they're going to get chance. This player here might deal with it all himself. General being killed. One of the generals in there for the Poles. Sorry, for the Russians to be killed. Don't know why I'm mixing up the Poles and the Russians here today. Very different in luck. One's an invader, one isn't. And the Poles are invading, obviously, Russia to try and liberate lost Polish lands. The Russians hold. Yeah, here comes the charge from the Jaegers. Are they going to get a volley off? Go on, Poland. Last minute volley just about routs, and that is unfortunate there. That, yeah, routs the entire line there for the Russians. Did manage to get that one Polish unit, but that is it. And that is pretty much game. It's just the Unicorn, I think, that just needs taken out here. And they actually got a decent canister volley into all those Poles. That is unfortunate there. But yeah, we're going to fast forward. I might even make a quick cut now, because I think, yeah, that's going to get mowed down by Carabiniers, and then it is just going to take out this building over here, which I think is bugged. This is why the Russians can't leave it. Then the French and the Poles are going to have to storm it. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a moment with the end results. So hopefully the end results are now on your screens for you to adore and enjoy. Yeah, I was playing in this one. It was from my perspective as one of the Poniatowskis. But yeah, a really, really fun battle. Very much a change in history, though, as the Battle of Tarutino sees a Polish and French victory, which makes for a bit of a change. But yeah, a really, really fun fight nonetheless. I did enjoy this one a lot, actually. Yeah. It was tough. It was going to be tough. We were talking about it post. Maybe the Russians have had a little bit more higher in pointage to fight Murat and the and the Poles, because they were attacking on even points, which is always kind of tough. But yeah, I mean, we were guessing, think that maybe like sort of like if the Russians really challenged the town, Murat was going to probably be nullified because they weren't going to be able to get in. But the Russians kind of attacked on a much larger front, which was kind of surprising. Allowed Murat to have a bit more success. I mean, even still, fighting in the town, Murat did have some joy. But maybe if the Russians kind of threw in even more bodies there, they just shot him to pieces. It's kind of hard to say, but yeah, maybe on another day the Russians could have done with a point or two more to just sort of give themselves a better chance. Maybe initiate a bit more aggressive maneuvers going on, because in the end it's kind of the Poles and the French that initiated quite a few offensives themselves once the Russians had worn down a bit in as well, to be fair. But yeah, we'll have a quick look at some of the unit stats. My army didn't do anything massive. I actually was kind of just getting beaten up, to be honest, in the center of that town by Russian central offensives. My cav doing the best, actually getting 108 kills. One of my lancers just assassinating units in the back lines. And one of my infantry getting 103 kills, 87 kills. Yeah, nothing too crazy, to be honest. That is for sure. But yeah, it was a really fun game. I enjoyed playing as the Poles. Even Poniatowski getting 4 kills. What a legend. But yeah, a really, really fun game nonetheless. And we'll have a quick, sort of spiel at the end. I hope you did enjoy. Leave a like, subscribe, all that shenanigans. And if you want to see any more NTW3 battles, then you know what to do. Check out the videos on your screen now. But until next time, guys, I'll see you later.